Chapter 3. She permitted Tian Shao to help her heal the wound. Tian Shao felt very happy. He crouched next to Yu Yao and pushed her clothes down so that he could see her shoulder. He wasn't shy about looking at a woman's body, but instead, poked her white shoulders curiously. When he saw Yu Yao glaring at him with displeasure, he tactfully stopped and gazed at the wound on her shoulder. So much blood, he softly murmured this, almost as if he had been frightened. Yu Yao was about to say, "If you can't heal me then don't come close to me," when Tian Shao suddenly exploited the opportunity to clamp his mouth over her injury drenched with blood. The warm lips softly sucked on her wound, and she felt a slight sting and a curious numbness within her body. Yu Yao was so shocked, her eyes went wide. After her shock, she could not contain her fury. She pushed him aside, but because her shoulders had exerted too much force, more blood began to flow out of the wound. She coldly asked, "Do you want to die? I'm helping you heal your wound." Tian Shao, who had been pushed onto the ground, felt somewhat wronged. "When I was little, and I accidentally cut my finger, my imperial mother helped me heal it like this." Yu Yao was so angry she couldn't speak a word. But when she thought about it, when the previous dynasty had died out, the former crown prince had only been 6 years old. Right after he learned how to speak, he was thrown into prison. His temperament was just like that of a child, so how would he understand how to heal a wound? "Don't get close to me again, otherwise don't blame me for being vicious." Tian Shao nodded and sat down, hugging his legs. His blank gaze still fixed itself on her. Yu Yao turned a blind eye to him and shrugged her clothes back on. She closed her eyes and returned to sleep. When she woke up in the middle of the night, Yu Yao felt extremely warm all of a sudden. Her forehead felt as if it was almost about to burn up like it was scalding hot. At first, Tian Shao hugged his legs as he lay curled up on the floor sleeping, but when a cool wind blew into the prison and woke him up, he dazedly came to. After he rubbed his eyes, he saw that Yu Yao's face was dripping with cold sweat. Her breathing was coarse and heavy, like a heavy wind. "Yu Yao." He called her name. Not receiving a response, he hesitantly shifted over to her side. "How are you doing? Don't touch me," Yu Yao rasped, but she already didn't have the energy to push Tian Shao aside. Tian Shao felt uncomfortable and was momentarily unable to cope with the situation. He pushed Yu Yao's clothes down again and saw that the wound on her shoulder had become inflamed. He began to panic. "Are you about to die? Just like his imperial mother?" Yu Yao's breathing moved his hair. Tian Shao clenched his teeth and decided that it didn't matter if she hit him or not. He put his mouth to her shoulder, half sucking, half licking, using his saliva to wash her wound clean. The weird sensation on her shoulder made Yu Yao struggle to focus. She turned around and saw the head buried in her shoulder. With great effort, she whispered, "Deng Tuzi." But he was using everything he had to save her. If this type of wound had poison in it, Yu Yao didn't understand why this crown prince would randomly treat her so well, just like she did not understand how deep the fears of loneliness could be to someone who had lived in this place for 10 years. The next day, Yu Yao was still powerless, but her fever had somewhat gone down. Her consciousness had also sobered quite a bit. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw two bloodshot eyes staring back at her. No matter how calm she usually was, her astonishment still made her suck in a bit of air. "Are you better now?" Tian Shao's hoarse voice carried exhaustion with it. He had not slept for the entire night but instead spent the whole time staring at Yu Yao fixedly. He was afraid that if he wasn't mindful, this woman would not wake up ever again. Yu Yao's shoulder was still painful. Her clothes were too dirty, so Tian Shao didn't help her put them back on. After she heard Tian Shao's question, she remembered the warm feeling on her shoulder last night, and her face immediately reddened. She looked up at the round hole in the sky, and coldly replied, "Yes." After a long period of silence in the prison, Yu Yao seemed to squeeze two words between her teeth, "Many thanks," but after she had waited for a long time, she still had not heard Tian Shao's response. She looked over and found that Tian Shao was already curled up on the floor, sleeping. This man was really like a child. End of chapter 3.